In being a parent, we should remember that peace is a fruit of the Holy Spirit. Part of our job in training children is to model Christ to them. We've all seen people who are emotionally unstable. I used to be emotionally unstable. And what are we training our children into?
Welcome to the HHP Podcast. My name is Chris Franke, and I am the senior pastor of HFF.church in Oklahoma City. Join me and others from around the country as we talk all things Bible, church, and family. We may be right, we may be heretical, but that's for you to decide. Drop a like, a share, a comment, subscribe, and let's get to it.
For years, when I ran international ministries, the stress of those ministries would bleed over into my home. And so when I would come home, I would go from highs to low. There would be a lot of really great joy for the amazing things my kids did. I have some pretty amazing children. But then there would also be great frustration when I knew that the expectations weren't being met. And I would project that onto my kids, and I would act as if it was them, when the reality was the emotionally unstable person was myself. And so I had to really take a deep look inside of myself and remember that emotional stability doesn't begin in the emotional. It actually starts in the spiritual. So emotional stability actually begins with spiritual stability. Isaiah 26:3 says, "You will keep in perfect peace those minds that are steadfast." Children can only feel as secure as their parents are grounded. I've used a lifeguard analogy many times with our deacons and our pastors inside the church. A lifeguard stabilizes themselves first and then pulls the person who is drowning to them. If you aren't stable first, then how do you expect your children to be stable? Your children are a reflection of what they see. And whether your kids are homeschooled or they're public schooled or private school, there's other influences in their life. But one of the most important influences is what they see behind closed doors in their home. When we carry unresolved anxiety or fear or emotional instability, our children absorb it. A peaceful spirit in a parent produces peace in a child. An anxious spirit produces anxiety in a child. An angry spirit will produce an anger spirit in their child. You are sowing seeds every day. And so spiritual grounding creates an emotional grounding for your family. You have to guard your own time with God, and the peace of your home has to start with your heart being at peace with God's heart. So what spiritual practices can keep you emotionally steady during stress? What are things you can do that have spiritual influences in your life that will help you when you find your emotions running high? Because peace is a fruit of the Holy Spirit. It's not a Christian formula. Isaiah 32:17 says, "The fruit of righteousness will be peace. Its effect will be quietness and confidence forever." Peace isn't built by perfect routines, but by God's presence saturating those routines. Peace isn't built in the absence of conflict. It is having the Spirit of Jesus working through the conflicts. Even the best plans fail without grace. And sometimes when I talk to parents who are trying to establish their home with their children, these healthy rhythms, habits, and routines, sometimes we don't afford ourselves grace, and we don't afford our children grace. We're talking about little wins. We're every day becoming more spiritually stable, every day becoming more emotionally stable, and thus less chaos exists and more peace exists. When families invite the Holy Spirit into their daily life, the structure becomes sacred. It's not rigid, but it's actually restful. The absence of chaos can produce rest. The goal is not to control, it's to be in communion with your children. So pray together before your busy days and thank God after them. Pray in the good times and the bad time. Worship through them. And ask yourself, have I made peace the pursuit of my home, or have I made it perfection? So how do we adjust our life habits? What are some things we can do? Well, first I want to ask you some reflective questions for you to think about. Does your home currently feel peaceful or pressured? Are my children confident in what to expect from me in our household every day? Where can I replace chaos with consistency in our routines? And how does my verbal and emotional tone set an atmosphere for our family? Some of the questions that I've asked myself in my times of reflection as I was going from being what I would consider to be spiritually and emotionally unstable for years to finally getting into rhythms that have produced great fruit in our house is, Lord, bring me your order and your peace and help me put that in my home. Let your spirit set the rhythms of this house and change my spirit. I also would write down what is ideal for me in a day in my home. What would I consider it to be peaceful, and what would that look like? And I would reflect on the area where God was calling me to slow down, to be more steadfast, and to be more consistent. So when we're looking at stability, we have to know that that has to be from love, and it has to mirror God's heart. Remember, in Genesis 1, God established order, rest, and rhythms in all of creation, and he joined humanity in it. Colossians 3 tells us that we're not to provoke our children, lest they would become discouraged. God is not a God of disorder, but peace, as Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 14. And Philippians 4:9 says, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. You cannot put systems and rhythms in place in your household that lead people to God without God.
If this podcast has blessed you, please consider supporting by visiting our website and making a donation. For more resources, blogs, podcasts, please visit us at HFF.church. Looking for a church home? Join us for Saturday Church in OKC every Saturday morning, starting at 10:30.